Today on the Winning With Shopify podcast.
We're a Kingston, New York-based benefit corporation. We started in 2015, and we make scented candles that combine the artistry of master perfumers with a circular approach to design and materials.
Got a candle in our kitchen as well that's like the shape of a turtle. I've called him Terrence. I like naming things.
Love it. It's about building relationships, and most of that is entirely free and requires a bit of creativity.
I've got in my notes, you guys, January 2021, you left social.
Buy our candles, and that will solve everything as well. That's it. That's
cool.
The answer to the
Thanks for
question.
your time, Harry. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Winning With Shopify podcast. If you've never tuned in before, my name's Nick and it's such a pleasure to have you tuning into the show. If you've been tuning in for a while, welcome back. Great to have you on the journey with us. We've been running the show for nearly 10 years. I need to check when it is to be an anniversary. I've been running it since 2020 when I took over from the amazing Caroline, who I know you still tune in, Caroline. So hello. In the last 6 years, nearly 6 years, I have not given you a shout out once. So it's in my notes to give you a shout out today. If you haven't already, guys, we are going to break a world record at some point. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet, but if you want to get involved in breaking that and see what we're going to do, it's going to involve lots of incredible content for you guys and lots of other things. But I don't want to give too much away right now. Head over to wwspodcast.com and sign up to our newsletter. Nice and simple. Put your email address in there and you'll start getting a couple of emails a week from us. One about Tuesday tea break talks, because I'm British and I love tea and we like to talk about what's happening in the Shopify world, and also these Friday episodes. I've got an amazing guest and this brand is coming back on the show, but we have a different guest this time. So I'm delighted to invite Harry, who is the owner of Keap Candles. Harry, welcome to the show. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks so much for having me, Nick. Pleasure to be here.
Well, it's great to have you. And I'm in a dark studio right now and it's 4:20 p.m. where I am. I can see on the clock behind you, it is 11:25. So either my laptop's slightly slow or your clock's slightly fast. I don't know which way around, but welcome. It's good to have you on the show. And like we ask all of our guests before we get cracking, if no one's ever heard of Keap, firstly, how do you spell Keap? Because I think it's an important part of the brand. People want to check out the site. And secondly, tell us a bit about the business and what you guys sell.
Sure, yeah. So Keap Candles, it's spelled Keap, A as in apple. It's named after a street in Brooklyn. I can tell you more about that. But we're a Kingston, New York-based benefit corporation. We started in 2015, and we make scented candles that combine the artistry of master perfumers with a circular approach to design and materials. There's three things I would highlight about us that people note about our business. We're centered around a subscription and really around making candles for people that use them really regularly, that are very discerning in their usage. We are big all-natural candle innovators. I can talk more about that. And then we make everything in-house, which in the world of luxury candles is extremely rare. We're about a team of 10 people making it happen. And yeah, I can talk about it more of any of that if you're interested.
Nice. I want to hear the story about the name, the street in New York. Like, tell us a bit more about how you guys branded the business initially and came up with that name.
Yeah, so I started the company in 2015 with my really good friend, Steven, who you had on the show. And we were living on a street called Keap Street in Williamsburg back then. And the name Keap is very weird in itself. It's named actually after someone called McKean. And I think apparently the person who noted that street address, that street name for the first time, was dyslexic or something, and they completely misspelled it, and it became Keap. So we thought that
amazing.
was kind of funny. But we also like the sound of it, beyond the fact that it was echoing kind of Steve and I's friendship, which was the basis for this business and where we were starting. It also had this nice sound about keeping things close, and we have this big focus on circularity and reuse, and the idea of Keap obviously resonated with that.
I love that. And I sometimes think people overthink branding, and it's like, when you look at, like, I'm going to take one of the biggest brands in the world, Apple, and say, like, there's an apple with a bite out of it. It's temptation. I must say, I didn't get that for like the first 10 years of knowing Apple. Someone mentioned it and I looked at the logo, I was like, yeah, someone's taken a bite out. Obviously, temptation, Genesis, the Bible, like, it all kind of made sense suddenly. But I love how simple it is, because I don't know if you guys had this. When we branded our agency Spec, it was like we went through all these rounds of, like, are we like incisive or on the cutting edge of stuff, and all these like random words. And my mate phoned me up one night and he's like, oi, good night. And I don't wear them on the show just because they reflect the lights, but he phoned, oi, Specs. And I was like, that's it. And just had this epiphany, like, I'm just going to call the business Spec. Like, and there was no agency called Spec at the time. I was like, well, that's sorted. And there's a funny reason behind it. But then the work, like you guys, it works with circular. So our work works with specialized, perspective, and all these other words have SPEC in the middle. So it worked. We've never actually played on that, but it is there. tell us, I mean, we're going to talk a lot about this, I think, and this is one of the biggest things about your brand that I love and I think makes your brand so sticky with customers and so memorable. Let's talk about products. And you mentioned candle innovation. That sounds exciting. Like, talk us through more about this, the kind of circular, the reuse part of society, and how you are kind of turning that into a product that's so, if you don't mind me saying, so beautiful. And it's such an amazing product, and a product that people clearly love, looking at the sentiment around your brand.
Yeah, thank you for that question. So, at a very high level, we work in an economy that is mostly linear. Things are designed to have a sort of a start and an end, and then they end in presumably a landfill. And the circular economy is about creating circles rather than lines with a start and an end, so that we're living within the resources of our planet and ecosystems. So with our candles, there's a lot of ways that we try and bring that philosophy to our products. I think the things that are most noticeable are around the reuse of the glass candle holder. So first of all, most candle holders are actually made out of soda lime glass that comes from China and increasingly Vietnam now. Our glass is made in Germany from a 150-year-old family-owned glass maker using Triton crystal. It's very strong glass that can withhold hot candle temperatures, but it is so strong that it doesn't need to be very thick, and it can be very thin and very elegant glass. It's a glass that's used by a lot of Michelin-starred restaurants. So we want the glass to be something you really want to keep and are willing to put some effort to keep. And then we want to minimize the effort. So the adhesive we use for our wick, which is organic beeswax, is very easy to pull out when you're done. And then the labels are compostable, removable, so that basically it's a breeze to reuse the glass. And it sounds trivial maybe to some people, but that's something that Steve and I, as big candle nerds buying a lot of candles, we were really frustrated by how difficult it was to reuse some candles, just because the stuff is just sticking on there. It was made to be permanently on, and so we really wanted to address that.
And I've definitely found myself late into the evening with like hot water at the sink and a knife trying to like get the last bit of wax out. And we got a candle in our kitchen as well that's like the shape of a turtle. I've called him Terence. I like naming things.
Love
So
it.
Terence the turtle. And my wife, I bought him as a gift for my wife, and she refused to light it. She's had him nearly 10 years now, and he just sits there and he's got a candle inside. And the candle is kind of like slightly smaller on the top, and then it gets bigger inside. But she was also like, I really like the dish, but if I light the candle, we're then going to have bits of candle in there. We're never going to fully get them out, and it would ruin it. So this candle's never been lit; it's become an ornament. Yeah, and so I joke that if I die one day, like that, like light it in honor of me. She was like, "No, then I feel like I'm burning you away, whatever." Like, so there's a kind of Terence, poor Terence. I mean, there would be a funeral for me and then Terence probably. But I love what you're saying about the glass. And one thing I love about it, and this is I'd say it's very now, it's very sort of 2025, 2026, in terms of the actual glass itself being reusable. Yoast have just launched something that is absolutely game changing. Their new AI brand insights tool is now in beta, and it's built to help you track your brand's visibility, sentiment, and credibility across AI platforms like ChatGPT. As search expands from Google to AI answers, this tool gives you a clear view of how your brand shows up, combining sentiment, visibility, and mentions. It's designed for marketers who want enterprise level insight without the enterprise price, less than $400 per year. And here's the best bit. Yoast Black Friday sale is now on. So starting November 27th, you'll get a 30% discount off all annual plans, including the new Yoast SEO AI Plus. Head to yoast.com to learn more and grab your discount. Going from like all the kind of very like hypothetical kind of top level side of the business, the branding, what's sticky, the messaging, the sentiment behind it, bringing that right down to the opposite end, which is like kind of marketing tactics and how you get people to reuse products. You must find the reusability rates and the lifetime value of customers is higher, because if they don't reuse it, they've just got this thing that's going to have to go to landfill. And that was the reason they came to you in the first place, was to buy into avoiding that. You must find the lifetime value and repeat orders are pretty strong in that sense.
Yeah, well, to be honest, when we first launched the company, I was a bit cynical and skeptical. And I thought, even though we put all this effort into designing optimally for reuse and investing a lot of money and time into it, that probably most people still wouldn't do it. And I was been super pleasantly surprised. It's pretty much everyone does it. It's kind of amazing. And then in terms of your question of lifetime value, I think I don't think it's specifically just the glass reuse and people being like, oh, it's nice that I get this really nice glass that's in itself worth a lot of money, after the candle. I'm sure it's part of the calculation, but I think it's more like one facet that's of like a holistic approach that we have that resonates with certain people. Um, and yeah, our business is really oriented towards lifetime value more than I would say acquisition in a way. We've invested definitely more on that side of things.
Which is really cool. And I think lots of brands we talk to, and I think one of the biggest problems I find in sort of pop-up Shopify stores or brands kind of hitting the ground running and trying to get going is they focus too much on that acquisition. They get too reliant on paid advertising channels. And it's like, you do realize if your credit card got rejected, like, and it took a day or two to fix with Google, that's a day or two of your month just gone, sales just gone. And actually this stickiness means that you don't even need to do advertising and emailing. Sometimes it's like people just want to come back and get another one. And it's, as you say, it's part of the way you design the product. But I think sticking with this kind of dual approach then of like the kind of top line brand approach and what you guys want to sort of change in the world with the kind of then tactics of what buttons do you actually click and where are you on the ground. I've got in my notes that you guys, January 2021, you left social. Talk me through January 2021, because it's not something I know. It's some of the opposite of brands going, Snapchat's great, TikTok's great. Like, talk me through this.
Oh yeah, probably the best decision we've ever made. The background to it is that Steven and my co-founder Steven and I we used to work at Google and mainly actually YouTube within Google, both for 5 or 6 years. And so we saw how the sausage was made. We saw the data on the back end and all the ads data for YouTube. And we were also getting this was a long time ago that we were there, and we were getting kind of increasing alarmed with where things were going with the focus on watch time. I mean, we didn't really foresee just the magnitude of how much social media has, caused a massive, in my opinion, negative impact amid some benefits, but I think the negatives personally outweigh those. We didn't totally foresee that, but in short, we spent a few years debating whether to stay on social media, and in 2021 pulled the cord, and it was the reaction was pretty astounding. And since then, it's been a lot of lessons, but definitely, I think something I look back to as one of the best things we've ever done.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just love the fact it's like a disruptive thing. I mean, based on when this episode's going out, Black Friday is round the corner, everybody. And lots of brands are refusing to do Black Friday. Not to kind of call you out and say you've left social, but you're doing Black Friday. Out of interest, like, what is your Black Friday, Cyber Monday strategy? Do you guys completely ignore it? Do you do something, again, are you trying to be disruptive in that space as well?
Good question. We actually for many years were ignoring Black Friday, and we've now, I would say, we don't ignore it, but we don't make it the focus of our business in the way I see lots of other businesses doing. We've sort of found a way to make it work with the structure of our business. We have seasonal scents that we launch every month that then we discontinue, but for a variety of boring operational reasons, it's sort of advantageous for us to sell a little bit more leftover inventory twice a year. And so we use not just Black Friday, but the sort of November sales rush to sell some of that inventory, which is exciting for our customers because they get scents that are not normally available. And so we do it. I'd say we're definitely not very aggressive compared to many other brands in our space when it comes to Black Friday, but we don't totally ignore it either. I definitely have lots of mixed feelings about Black Friday and about that type of
Yes.
consumerism in general. And at the same time, it's tricky because so many of our customers want deals and want the best prices, and so it's a tricky nut to crack and kind of finding that right balance is definitely something we're constantly discussing.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a friend of mine he sort of said to me years ago, like, and this might sound totally off topic, and I'm going to come back to Black Friday in a sec, but he said, look, I'm struggling to keep like a life budget. Like, I get paid every month, and by like the 10th, I'm like living off scraps, but I've got a good salary, and I need to learn how to manage this. I'm like, good, you've reached you've reached crunch point. I had it at work, and it was much more stressful with staff around me and the tax man knocking on the door. But we basically just made a budget, really, really simple. But part of looking at that is I looked at what he was spending his money on with him, and like we looked at his credit card bill, and I said, right, firstly, get rid of a credit card. You can't be trusted right now. Like we'll get the mortgage, we'll get the mortgage credit rating we need later. But for now, like let's just focus on just spend money you've got, not money you're gonna get. So we started this, but we looked at like what he was spending his money on, and he was buying like so many t-shirts and trousers and stuff, and all this clothing. And I was like, "There's only one of you. Like, what are you using this stuff on?" He goes, "Well, once I've worn it 3 or 4 times, like they start to fade, and the color's not as good, it's not as soft as it used to be." So we invested in two things: one, a steamer, so he could steam his clothes like they feel when they come out the shop, and that cost less than a single item he was buying anyway. And the second thing, which comes right back to what you were saying about this consumerism, is actually we worked out that over a 5-year period, it was cheaper for him to buy better quality clothes and better washing liquid for the washing machine, and a steamer to steam them when they come out. Which, spoiler alert, he never used the steamer, but he did save lots of money. But just I think that consumerism of like, oh, that one's $1 and this one's $5. I'll go for the $1, but it's like you're going to need at least 5, maybe even 10 before the $5 one breaks, or the $5 one has a lifetime warranty, or like a 10-year warranty or a 20-year warranty. And so how much do you guys try and bring when it is, I don't want to downplay the product, but when it is just a candle, it's not like a medical product, it's not a car, it's not, kind of mega expensive. But how do you bring that kind of that kind of message across in the marketing, that like it's not the cheapest candle you can buy, it's not consumerism, we're not discounting it heavily because it's got good value? How do you bring that across in the messaging you use, the colors, the layouts on site, and also the marketing and kind of tactics you guys use?
Wow, so many.
How do you run the whole business? Is my
So
question.
many. I was gonna say
Yeah.
that's such an interesting and important question. I think the aspect of like buying fewer, better products definitely aligns with our philosophy. Obviously, we have a what's the term? A product that consumes itself. That's a renew or like a needs to be
Yeah.
replenished. So it's different. A
Consumable kind of, yeah.
consumable. Yeah, that's it. So it's a bit different than say a T-shirt, which shouldn't be a consumable. Should last you a long time if it's made well. But there is the fact that we try and make our candles actually burn longer rather than quicker. As on the more mass market side, a lot of candles are actually designed to burn as fast as possible, and to be
So
really.
that you buy another one, I guess. Yeah.
So yeah, you buy another one as quickly as possible. So there's that literal aspect to it. There's obviously the glass and the idea that you have something that you'll actually get to keep for a very long time. But then, and I wouldn't say we've figured it all out, but there's definitely an interesting challenge for us to show like what are you getting when you're paying this much more than say a candle you can buy at Walmart for $5, 10 times less than our candles. What's the difference there? And then there's so many things I could say. It's the fact that the fragrances cost 100 times more, literally. The fact that the process of making them is you could compare and say like one is Taco Bell and the other one is a Michelin starred restaurant, and maybe there's a place for both of those things to coexist. It doesn't have to be one or the other, but depending on what you're looking for, one will suit you better than the other. And then I think there's an aspect a little bit like analogous to when I think about why I will spend more money to buy a vegetable from my farmer's market versus something from the supermarket that comes from some faraway country that's been shipped on a big container ship. And it's that I get a lot for my money. I don't just get the thing that my personal consumption of it. I also know that I'm supporting my local farms, my local ecology, my local community. And I think we're one of many businesses that's also trying to bring that ethos, and that customers are looking for supporting businesses like that aren't the same kind of slop that you find when you just like type a product in Google search and you get all Wayfair and Walmart and all these sort of big global supply chain centralizers. So I think that's just the start to your question. There's so much more to say there, but
Yeah, of course. Of course. Well, let's talk about the flip side then of like, well, not flip side, but the second part of the process. So one is then attracting people in and getting all those things you mentioned of like, how do we not mention Walmart, but clearly show the value in what we do, and the process, even seeing the process is part of the journey and the emotional connection to product. But let's go the other side of the fence. So somebody's now bought from you, and now it's about engaging them. And you mentioned earlier, like you guys obviously have this amazing customer base that runs the business and keeps the business kind of ticking over on that subscription, that reorder, which I love surprises. I love you mentioned it. I love your humility to say earlier, I was wrong. I thought that they're just going to throw this thing away and just think, well, that's done, chuck the base away. But people buying things, amazing. But how do you then communicate with those guys? Like, what does the email strategy look like? How much more educational are you post-purchase as opposed to pre-purchase?
Yeah, so we're not on social media, so we in a way we don't have to deal with any of that. So that allows us currently the main channel. It's not the only one, but the main channel is definitely our email newsletter. That's where we invest most of our energy. It's where most of the kind of life in our communication to our community is happening. We have definitely other plans in the future for new things that are exciting and new channels. But that's where we put a lot of our energy. We do have email flows that we use, with Klaviyo. I don't think we're particularly unique in how we use those, to be honest. Our newsletter, though, is I think pretty interesting, and we've gotten the feedback that it's unusual and different from other brand newsletters. And I think there's a lot of like specifics about it that are a bit unusual, and we try and make it feel not like a brand newsletter, but feel more like an email from me, typically. And it is an email from me. So the other aspect is feedback. We're very big on soliciting feedback proactively. We have a lot of ways we do that. And the biggest one is every summer we have what we call our annual Keeper survey. It's an absurdly long survey that I am surprised even one person spends the time filling. But we get hundreds of people filling it every year, and it's so eye-opening, and it really informs changes to our newsletter, but changes to our entire business. And we have strong opinions, so we're not just completely like swaying to whatever last feedback we get, but we often find we're in pretty good sync with our core customer, and this helps us just understand where they're at and better change our products, change our storytelling, update our storytelling to like match where our audience is at.
I just signed up to your newsletter as well while you were saying that, because when you said like our newsletter's amazing, I was like, I got to see this. I love the fact it says keep up when you click go. It's not like join now or whatever. It's like keep up. And I love with brands. I love how fun you can be with it. And you say about the Keap survey as well. Like, I love these. I love using all these little things in branding to like just make them a little bit more fun. A little bit like, oh, that's a bit different. That's a nice touch. But you can't have that without the big North Star elements of the business, like you've spoken about before. So, I think the feedback's amazing. We get a lot of clients where we say, can we do feedback? Because if we can find out this, this, and this from clients, we know what we're putting in ad copy, what we're putting in website copy, and we know how to talk to them now. And the pushbacks we get are things like they're not going to fill it out. It's not going to be useful information. We're just going to get loads of complaints. People are going to tell us how rubbish the product is. And we kind of sit there like, yes, we've got less skin in the game because we're the agency, but it's like, let's find out those things. Let's find out how bad we are. Let's find out how much we're annoying people. And now we know we're already doing that, and we know why we've got no repeat orders, and we can start fixing these problems. This episode of Winning with Shopify is brought to you by TaxCloud. It's the busiest time of year for e-commerce. Your store's buzzing, orders flying in, and growth is at an all-time high. But with all that momentum can come new sales tax exposure that you might not even see coming. That's why now is the perfect time to take a closer look at how you're handling sales tax and make sure your business is set up for the growth that you've earned. TaxCloud is our trusted partner for sales tax compliance, built for growing Shopify brands. They handle regulations, filings, and ongoing compliance, working directly with the states on your behalf across the US, so you can stay focused on running your store. They got a 5-star rating in the Shopify App Store, and listeners of Winning with Shopify get free migration onboarding when you make the switch. To apply for that and learn more, you can go to taxcloud.com/winning. That's taxcloud.com/winning. With those surveys, how much would you say you then kind of follow back? And I'm sorry to put you on the spot with this. I don't know if you do this at all, but how much do you kind of feed back to people and say, hey, loads of you filled out this survey we sent out 3 or 4 weeks ago. We were really struck by this. So we're going to launch a new product or change the way we do this. Or we're reviewing our couriers because you guys highlighted that the delivery sometimes isn't great, or, the driver just leaves it on the doorstep in the snow. And that's not a good way for it to be left. Like, how much do you feed back what you've learned?
So it's funny because this year I'm actually really behind my usual timeline for doing the sort of
Okay.
the return. So I've
Well, I'm
started,
glad I'm here to remind you. That's good.
but because there's so much in the survey, it actually takes me a dozen email newsletters to actually work through all the juicy stuff that our subscribers are interested in hearing back from us. So it gives me a ton of storytelling stuff that people love. They love to read more about both what's going on with our community, what other people kind of like them are experiencing and commenting on, and then what other people are thinking about the candles. I think people feel a really strong attachment to our company, and that's partly through their enjoyment of the candles. But then I think when they hear from other people who share that same emotion, it makes them feel a sense of connection. That's really sweet and important. Um, so we do try and like send back kind of what we heard. I think it's fun, and it's also people really appreciate that, and also feel like their feedback's been heard, which is important. Um, and we do try also to follow up individually with a number of people for specific kinds of responses where either where they didn't realize that we actually already doing the thing that they're requesting, but they just didn't know
Mm.
about it. So
Which
that,
is smart. Yeah.
yeah, which is telling us also that there's maybe a communication improvement opportunity there, or something of that effect. But also, it's worth just telling that person, that I think we can provide, kind of delight them and surprise them, because I don't think most people are accustomed to the brand responding to like their individual survey response. So yeah, we do definitely put a lot of effort into that. Um, and if you're a Keap subscriber listening to this and you're like, where is it this year? It's coming. Okay.
Got a lot on. Got a lot on. Um, I think one of the amazing things I think about the feedback that you've just mentioned, and this is one of the, if you're listening to this and you're early in your journey, this is something you're going to hit later. If you're not early in your journey, you're probably hitting this, is content is so expensive, whether it's coming up with the stories and the time that takes, whether it's shooting content, creating content. We have some clients that are like, oh, we're having to pay like $2 million to this celebrity to have them like just wear it. They're not even going to mention it. We just get a picture of them wearing it. We can use only on email and social channels when we tag them, can't put it on the website. There's always like stupid restrictions. With clients do some of that, and then it's like, okay, well, if you send, like you say, the simple things are always best and they often free. Let's send out a massive survey and we'll encourage people to want to fill it out by even if only 10 people do it the first time. Let's feed back what we learned from those 10 people, and then more people go like, oh, I got that survey, but I didn't fill it out. And you go on it, it's like next survey's coming in 3 months. And you go like, we'll do another one soon. Let's use the first one just to drip feed the concept and say, we're launching a new thing. And anyone who replied to the previous survey is getting it for free or half price. And like, oh, I should have filled out the survey. And you slowly build this relationship with people going, look, if you give to us, we'll give back. It doesn't always have to be discounts. It can be changes to things. But I think it's amazing just that content creation that you touched on. Again, so many clients scratching their heads going, and it's not a problem for you, but we're going to post on social tomorrow. And like, it's International Turtle Day, which is a fantastic thing. There's nothing to do with our business, but we're stuck. We're stuck for ideas. So turtles it is. But yeah, it must help with some of those stories, or even in 6 months, you're like, people have mentioned gifting. Well, like there's Mother's Day, Father's Day, Valentine's. There's some gifting holidays coming up at the moment. We can build those into our calendar.
Man, I'm 100%. I'm hearing you say, talking about, it's about building relationships. It's that's exactly what it is, and most of that is entirely free and requires a bit of creativity, but it's pretty much free. And it's kind of shocking to me the way that how uncreative marketers have gotten in the last 2 decades. I think because of social media, and that idea of like, paying $2 million to an influencer to like not show your product is like so classic, I feel. And
Terms and conditions apply, and we didn't read them properly. Yeah, it's
I
like,
mean, for
how has it come to that?
$2 million, what I could do with that money, oh my god. We've not spent close to $2 million in our 10 years of history on marketing. And um, there's just so much you can, if you think of it as building long-term relationships, you approach it very differently. And especially when you're just starting out, there's so much you can do with just, thinking about that really individual level, but building partnerships with other businesses, building getting those feedback loops, and starting not expecting that you're going to become Google tomorrow magically, but by getting like real people who are real your core customer and who become real fans, you can start to really build something that's strong, that builds on itself, where you don't have to like you were saying earlier, like chase your next customer because all your other customers are churning anyway because your product sucks. But that feedback,
Yeah.
that feedback, I think I hear a lot also about that sense of worrying that you're going to get negative feedback, and so that's just not going to be helpful. I think that kind of perfectionism is really poison for entrepreneurs. That feedback is so valuable, and if you got like I like to say, if you got snot sticking out of your nose, it's better that someone tells you early so that you don't like go to
100%.
your brother's wedding with it sticking out of your nose. You want to find out about it so you can address it soon and be better. And yeah, sorry, I get
Yeah,
passionate about
no,
that.
no, I completely agree, and I mean, just to kind of back that up as well with a couple of like really kind of on the ground tactical things. Like we've had Judge Me, Trustpilot, and Yotpo on the show before. All three of them are really close partners of ours. As much as Seguno, who's currently one of our sponsors, like they do product reviews. All of them unanimously say your negative reviews are the best opportunities for growth. Yet companies literally, like, I mean, it's a kind of like corporate organization, the CEO on the phone to the marketing exec going, why is everyone complaining about us? Like, it's because we've got a bad business and we need to fix it. But now we know exactly what to fix. And if we fix it, the rewards are quite clear, obvious, and public. And we can build a whole PR campaign about it without paying journalists. Because journalists will want to hear this, like, the US's most complained about shoe company is now statistically the best. Imagine that's a PR story hitting the New York Times and everything. That's an incredible piece of PR, and you won't have to pay to get that story out because it's compelling enough. I think one of the biggest things that I hear from he's one of my legends on kind of on my podcast list. It's Rory Sutherland. He's one of the most amazing British marketing gurus I've ever come across. And Rory says all the time, like, so many businesses are led by the finance directors now, and you guys are great. We need you. We need the numbers in order. Businesses fall apart if they're not. But the finance directors need to just let the marketing teams and the creatives just have a play, because that's where all the good stuff comes from. If you're chasing, like, is it this word or this word in an A/B test? Well, that's nothing compared to if you go, let's reinvent our business based on what our customers are telling us, and we'll at least find out the customers were wrong. They actually liked it before. Like, you got that's a much bigger macro thing to kind of focus on. But for the last few minutes, I want a complete gear change, because we spoke about this before we hit record. You put two words on the sort of like, what are some of the topics we can talk about with you? And you mentioned mental health, and I went down a completely different road and then suggested maybe it was another road. And you said, no, it was a completely different road altogether. Talk me through mental health kind of in your day-to-day working environment, how many different forms it takes, where it comes into play. Because we get asked about this a lot, and we spend so much time talking about, like, my episode a few days ago was about AI stuff you need to do to your website to be, appearing in ChatGPT. And we need all of that, but we don't talk enough about how stressed and tired we all are, and other people are stressed and tired and struggling with their mental health around us. Tell me more about mental health in your kind of day-to-day in your worlds, and where you wanted to go with that, because it's really interesting.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. We were discussing before that we sort of interpreted those words with in different ways, and I think all the ways that we both came to were valid. We talked about the self as a founder, how it's extremely challenging, all the weight of these responsibilities, the stress, the money stress, the people related issues to navigate. There's a lot to handle there. The fact that as the leader of a team, at least speaking in our context in the US, I think mental health is one of our, and I'd say like health actually in general, healthcare and including mental health care is a real challenge of our times, and can it can cause like major problems that really take you off course. And then we also spoke about our customers, how we've heard feedback. We actually have a lot of therapists that use candles in their practice, interestingly. But we also have a lot of folks for whom it's an important part of their own wellness routines, their daily rituals to kind of be grounded, feel a sense of time and place. I'll give you like one really practical example that we hear a lot of is people who work from home. And so it's hard for them to have boundaries between work and their personal life, being on the screen with their colleagues and then being with their spouse or children. And the candle is kind of like the switch. It kind of marks the start of the end of one phase and the start of another. And it sort of works as almost like a little mirror reminder, like, hey, this is, you
That's
said you're going
amazing.
to be
Yeah,
with your
yeah.
kids now. And it's not loud, it's very like subtle, but a lot of people find that interesting. But yeah, I can go into any of those three aspects in more detail if you want.
I think, I mean, one I definitely want to, but I think just to make the point that actually being aware of all of this, like I had a near breakdown once in business. Like the business was falling apart. We didn't have enough money. And so I did what everybody does. And I got on a plane out the country and went on holiday for a week and just was like desperately listening to audiobooks. I, I feel like I'm more aware of it having gone that low and gone, right, I need to get out. I'm very like objective, as you can probably tell. I need to get out of this. You know, what is the like 1, 2, 3? And sometimes there isn't. It's like, I just need to be aware of things today. So I think actually you just listing all those different ways it can affect you and I and everybody listening, whether you're, junior marketing exec and you've just joined a business, you're listening to this, you're like, Shopify, what the heck's that? What do I do? Like, I'm out of my depth. Or whether you've been running a business for 20, 30, 40 years and you're like, okay, like this is really important. The one I really want to go into, just given knowing that there's loads of small founders of Shopify stores here, lots of people listening to this will either be in a big corporate environment that's very stressful, or they'll be like working a full-time job and running Shopify on the side, out their garage, bedroom, that kind of thing. So a lot of people are like in this stressful situation environment, and you're welcome to say it's how they can use your products or how you kind of reset, or or just generally like some of the things that you think people in our positions battle every day. But like, how do you deal with that where it's like you just everything's coming at all sides? There's all these fires, there's walls knocking down, the office is just flooded. You just got an email saying a boat's fallen apart and a shipping container fell off full of your stock. Phone the insurance company, and then the government asks for some tax, and it's like all this stuff's kind of hitting you in different ways. Like, what are some of the ways that you as the owner find, that time to go, right, this is all going on, need to do something, need to kind of get my head in the right game in this to sort of stay afloat?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question right there.
We could do a whole nother episode on this, but
Yeah, I think. Well, first of all, you've got to buy our candles, and that will solve everything. Is what I thought. That's it. That's the
cool.
answer to the
Thanks for
question.
your time, Harry. Good.
No,
We will put a link in the description, everyone, by the way. So yeah, I'll ask you for the URL in a minute, but we will put a link in the description if you want to go and check out your products, and and keep in touch. Spelled KEAP.
But yeah, more seriously, I think the answer is going to be different for everyone. We all have different personalities, different needs, and so there's probably not a one size fits all. I can talk about a little bit what I do, and a little bit what I see around me in terms of where advice that I've seen work with folks around me in similar contexts. But I think for me, a lot of times where I end up in a little bit of in that survival mode, like where I'm having trouble connecting with sort of the abundance and the seeing, how great I have it actually in so many levels. And I'm seeing sort of the glass half empty part and seeing all the parts that are stressful, the cash situation being really rough, a team situation that's difficult. And I'm kind of getting into a pattern of survival rather than of thriving. And there's a few things. One is just doing the things that are make you feel good. For me, playing soccer, football is really like one of those things.
Love that. What a British thing to do! Like go and kick a ball with some mates in a field. Yeah, it's brilliant. I play as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the big ones. There's a few other things I do, and then finding inspiration, and usually that's through culture, through social time with friends, through other things, and then sometimes like making the point of thinking like, what am I needing in this moment? What am I needing that I'm not getting in this moment? Because often when I ask myself that question, I find that actually right now, because I've been in this survival mode, I've been kind of denying myself some basic things that I need. And sometimes they're really small and they can make such a huge difference. Like
Yeah,
the
like I'm
fact that,
dehydrated and my mood's bad. It's like, well, one does literally equal the other. It's so just have some water. Like it's so simple. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And it can be like, I realized recently that I've been forcing myself to be an early morning person ever since my son was born. And I'm
I
not,
can relate to that. Yeah.
I think after like 5 years, 4.5 years, I'm like, not a morning person. I think I have way more than enough data to say like I'm not good.
Can I tell you what's really ironic about that statement? It is 1 minute past 12 on your clock behind you. It's afternoon now, so you can wake up. That's sorry, it was just perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect. But yeah, so you're not a morning person.
Yeah, and so I this is not something I've like taken an action yet, because it's literally I was thinking about it this weekend, but I am thinking about changing my schedule to allow myself to be more in my natural rhythm where I'm good at. If I can do a work session late at night, I get 5 times more done than if I wake up or do an early day, and then have just more time for myself to then exercise, relax, be with my family, do whatever other things I need.
Thank you so much. Like, really, thank you for sharing that. That's amazing. And yeah, I've definitely done those kind of like those peaks and troughs of where you're most productive, where you're least productive. And mine's probably inverted from yours, but plus the evening. It's like, yeah, I'm really productive until I have lunch. Once I've had lunch, I have to, because I'm an extrovert, I have to be in conversations and in meetings in the afternoons to keep me engaged, keep me awake. Then I have this kind of crash, and it's around mealtime. So I have a crash around dinner and stuff. And then like I'm absolutely knackered, and my wife and I are like, right, let's go to bed. Baby's asleep. Let's get some time, get some rest or whatever. And I get into bed and I'm like this, and I'm a real night owl. My brain's like so awake, going, I could try this, I could conquer that, I could build this, like just really kind of like life changes. And then when I wake up in the morning again, it's like it takes me 5 minutes, but I'm like, let's go. Like it's just this kind of peaks and troughs, I think, and understanding those. But certainly as the owner, as the founder, as the boss, you're in control of those things. And I think sometimes we lock ourselves into what the rat race says we need to do. Had an epiphany recently of going, do you know what? If I get to work early and leave early, which is what I've been doing the last 3-4 months, so I can get home before my little one goes to bed, or I won't see her apart from in the morning. I won't see her all day. So it's like, actually I get to work at like 7 a.m. and I'm leaving at kind of 4 and take a full lunch break in the middle. And it's like, those are my non-negotiables, and everything else has to fit around them. And now I've learned like to stop doing the things I shouldn't be doing and delegate. It's like things are getting much easier, but yeah, there'll be another kind of turbulent thing that will hit next, which yeah, our government's about to announce tax updates very shortly. So I'm sure that'll keep me awake for a few days. But look, Harry, thank you so much. Thank you for your humility. Thanks for admitting like these are some things I needed to work on throughout the whole business from the get-go of this episode, right the way through to, well done on some of the successes and the journey you guys have been on, where you're heading at the moment. So thank you so much. If people want to check out the business, I mentioned the URL. If they're listening to this and can't see the description, like how can they check out the website? And that's it. And join the newsletter because they can't follow you on social, which I love. I love that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if you're interested in learning more about us, we're at keapcandles.com. That's KEAP candles.com. And yeah, on the website, you'll see links to join our newsletter. Highly recommend it. And send us an email if you want to get in touch.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And for everyone listening at home, yeah, tune in again. I'll be back on Tuesday with Nick's Tuesday Tea Break Talks. There'll be a special holiday one, depending on, I think I know when this episode's going now. I'll be on holiday with my little camera and microphone. So we'll see where we end up this time. We're doing a little road trip around Nick's Airbnbs of the United Kingdom and a few other places. So yeah, tune in on Tuesday for Nick's Tuesday Tea Break Talks. We'll talk about Shopify news, a few other bits and pieces going on, sharing some learnings from our agency, stuff we're working on, stuff we're seeing works, stuff that doesn't work. And then also every Friday, we're posting one of these episodes with an amazing guest like Harry. If you want to come on the show, then go and check out our website. Loads of ways to get in touch, or email us hello@winningwithshopify.com. Thanks for tuning in, and hope you can join us again next time. Hey guys, I just want to take a moment aside from today's episode to introduce one of our amazing sponsors, Cavella. They are the all-in-one platform that helps you design, sample, and launch your product lines. Cavella are helping Shopify brands save up to 40% on stock costs thanks to their smart, streamlined supply chain. That means more profit for you, less costs, and loads of time saved in trying to get stock on your shelves. Right now, you can fast-track their waiting list and get 50% of your first sample order just by using the code WINNING at checkout. This is an exclusive offer for Winning with Shopify podcast listeners. Just go to the link in our description or in our bio to unlock the savings and skip the queue. You build your brand, save on stock, and step into the future of e-commerce with Cavella. That code again, WINNING.